It's right around 8:45 a.m. Yep, 8:45 on Friday, May 3rd. I'm just here recording the condition of this unit before inspectional services shows up, as they're supposed to at 9 o'clock this morning, to do a temperature reading in here for the no heat complaint that I filed about a week ago. It always takes inspectional services several days to dispatch an inspector for no heat complaints. Unless it's like 10 degrees outside, then they'll maybe send one like that same day if they can. But yeah, I mean, it took them 4 or 5 days to get this inspector to come here. So in the meantime, the temperatures have changed. A week ago, it was about 35 degrees, 34 degrees at night. Now it's right around 51 degrees. So I really don't know what this temperature reading is going to give in terms of an actual temperature in here. I do know that the Greenville group suddenly turned the heat on in this building about 2 hours ago, and it's been cranking ever since. So, at the very last minute, when they know that the inspector is showing up here, I mean, office was notified of this yesterday afternoon. They had plenty of time to turn the heat back on. They've turned the heat back on, of course, right? So there hasn't been any heat in here in weeks. I've been turning the burners on the stove for weeks. There have been mice running around on the ice cold baseboard pipes for weeks. But 2 hours before the inspectional services shows up, the heat suddenly gets miraculously fixed and turned back on. How convenient, right? That's just how they operate. I mean, it shouldn't even be a surprise. I should not be surprised because this kind of thing has been going on for years. They used to crank the heat in here, like to, verifiably just about 90 degrees, as has been recorded by several inspectional services inspectors who have come in here to do temperature readings back in 2020 and 2021, and they recorded the temperature in here at 87 degrees. The fire department showed up one day because I was really concerned that the heat was so high that chemicals that I was storing by the baseboard, such as cleaning products, would suddenly start to, smolder or combust. And the fire department did a temperature reading that was also right around 87 degrees in February of 2021. So then the inspectional services would show up and then the heat would suddenly shut off, right? It would be like a miracle. All of a sudden, the heat would not be on. Now they've turned the heat on 2 hours ago, and miraculously, the heat situation suddenly gets fixed 2 hours before inspectional services shows up, but they haven't been able to turn the heat on in here for weeks. Isn't that interesting? So anyway, I mean, in case they look around and say that, I have piles of dead bodies lying in the corners, I don't. Just all of my nice clothing and shoes in luggages that are taped up so that they don't get vandalized and stolen, as I had been reporting they have been for years now. I mean, my beautiful clothes that I was keeping in there, some items went missing, some shoes went missing. I don't even know who would want my shoes. Like, why would anybody want my shoes? Unless they're a size 6.5, they can't wear them. Maybe they sell them, but they're not that nice. They're just nice for me. Anyway, as soon as I started taping up my luggages, that's when the vandalism and theft of my clothing stopped. As soon as I started taping up my fridge, that's when the vandalism and contamination of my brand new expensive food items stopped, right? That's when you're dealing with a psychopath. It's the same psychopath that the Greenville group has told me that they're housing in this building since 2013. They mentioned her name. I'm not the one who did any digging around or asking for who people are. They volunteered her name. Mr. Eliseyev seems to have a close personal friendship with this psychopath who he claims is a really talented IT engineer. But, when I use the word hacker, he said, oh, yeah, she can get into anything. She is so good. She can hack into anything. So, I mean, they know, but maybe they're using her services. That's why the heat suddenly starts working again in this unit within 2 hours of inspectional services showing up and doing a temperature reading in here as required. I mean, why does the heat suddenly get turned on 2 hours before inspectional services shows up? But for weeks and weeks before this, even when it was like 34 degrees outside, they did not turn the heat on because they knew that inspectional services wasn't about to show up. So they're very sneaky and they like to cover themselves very blatantly. They also play dirty. So then if they play dirty, then so can I. Maybe next time I'll get a dry ice machine in here, right? I mean, if they're going to start keeping the heat off just until a few hours before inspectional services shows up, then suddenly making it seem like the heat works in here, well, then fine, then I'll get it. I mean, there's nothing I can do. Obviously, I'm not going to start getting all like, I'm not going to waste my time, right? If there's no heat in here, there's no heat. If there's heat, there's heat. I'm not going to suddenly start trying to manipulate the system, but that's what they're doing. So again, the unit is pretty neat. I don't have piles of dead bodies in the corners. wow, all the construction work on the street is suddenly very quiet. Uh, yeah, and I don't see any mice. I don't hear any mice. But last night, once again, because these baseboard pipes are ice cold, I can leave my hand on here for minutes and minutes and minutes. These are metal. So if there was any heat at all in this pipe right here, I wouldn't be able to leave my hand on here because metal radiates heat very intensely. So even a little bit of heat on metal and you're like, ow, right? It's just hot. So there's no heat in here. But also it's like 51 degrees now. So it's not that cold outside anymore. And the mice always come from that corner. I always hear them coming from behind the fridge. Not sure what's behind there. I mean, it's the bathroom of 78, as I keep reporting. All of the bad things that come into this unit, the smoke and the fumes, the mice, the remote tasering. I mean, there's a scientific term for it. I just call it remote tasering because that's exactly what it feels like. And that's what it's like. I mean, it's obviously some kind of EMF emitting device because EMFs go through walls and it's a concentrated beam of EMF. It's not like it's, somebody's cell phone or something stupid like that. It all comes from the bathroom of 78. Banging noises when I try to use my toilet, smacking against the shower stall wall when I try to shower. That's been going on for years and years. It's not brand new. This is the same person that's been doing this for just about 10 years. It's the same person that the Greenville Group has been telling me they're housing in Unit 78 since 2013. Somebody who is clearly, they're obviously intelligent enough to manipulate technology, to know how to manipulate technology, whether it's electronic devices like cell phones, laptops, and tablets, or hacking into the thermostat for this building. When I used to have my air conditioner going, like when the air conditioner actually worked, this air conditioner doesn't work anymore. It's just the fan. Sometimes I turn the fan on to ventilate the space when it smells like marijuana. But the AC portion of this AC stopped working a couple of years ago, and the psychopath named Jasmine Arizari, who's also a sex offender, cyber criminal, she used to literally shut the AC off for no reason when I would be trying to use it when it was like 80 degrees, and I would have the AC cranking, and all of a sudden it would just shut off. So she can hack into things like air conditioners, pretty much anything with a chip. She's technologically knowledgeable enough to manipulate technology, right? And maybe infrastructure, including pipes. She claims to be an engineer. Okay, so engineers can do stuff like that. But she's obviously a psychopath, which means that she tries to hurt people. Anyway, I'm not going to speculate. I'm just going to wait for the inspector to show up. Okay, so it's 50 degrees now at like 9 a.m. So just as I said, it's about 50. That just needs to be noted. So I keep hearing a lot of noise out on the street, but the window is closed. I mean, it's mostly closed. It's stuck, so it doesn't. These windows need to be fixed. Oh. Hi there. Come on in. The door opens the wrong way, so just try to squeeze through.
All right.
Yeah, so all the baseboard pipes that run behind the bed are ice cold. There's no heat, and there hasn't been any heat in weeks. What's the temperature? Do you mind if I take a look?
60.8.
Can I see? Can I see? So what is it?
60.8. 61 degrees.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah.
But you also have the window open with the AC.
Well, the window is closed. I mean, the windows are closed. That one's closed. That one's closed.
No, but the AC will emit air through cold air.
But the AC is not on, and it doesn't work. The AC part, the cooling.
No. What I'm saying is that even with the AC here,
Yeah.
some air from outside will come in.
Yeah, sure, but there's no heat in the pipes. So my past experience is that when there's heat in the heat in the pipes is enough to warm up the unit.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was even a little bit of heat, it'd probably be about 70 degrees in here, right?
Try to keep this open.
But there's no heat, so
try to keep this open, because if you have it closed the way it was, air won't go through, but no heat will come out.
No, there's no heat at all,
No.
right? Like
when the boiler's running.
But the boiler hasn't been on for weeks, and that's the problem. I've been, touching the pipes and leaving them open.
I'm just letting you know exactly how the system works.
No, I understand. I've lived in this unit for 13 years, okay. So
But with that closed, even when the boiler's running, the pipes will get hot.
Okay.
If that's closed, air won't circulate.
I understand.
I'm not saying that it's working or it's not working. I'm not saying that. I'm just letting you know that if you keep that open, I'm gonna take a look at the boiler again.
Yeah.
If you keep that open, the heat will emit.
I mean, when there's 2 years ago, they shut the heat off, or they insulated this pipe right here because it was emitting too much heat. So the pipe that actually does heat up is the one behind my bed, and that's the one that I can't touch. So the louver is open on that one.
It's closed.
No, it's a separate pipe behind the headboard.
Yeah, I can see it right there.
Well, they're all different. So this one,
they're all closed.
Okay. Well, do you want? I mean, there's no heat anyway, so it just
I'm just letting you know that with it being closed, let's say if right now the boiler could be on, it's on a timer. It comes off and on, off and on.
So I have been awake all night. There has been absolutely no heat in here. Like, I tried to sleep at 2 a.m. I was awake. It was really cold in here at 4. I actually sleep with my coat covering me because that's the warmest thing that I own. Sometimes I turn the burner on the stove. It was 35 last week, and I had the burners going all night long because there was no heat. The baseboard pipes have been ice cold for weeks, and I've been making videos where I leave my hand on the pipe for like 5 minutes, because if there was even a little bit of heat, those are metal coverings. That is metal covering the pipe. The metal is obviously a conductor substance, and it conducts the heat. So the metal pipe would be nice and toasty if there was even a little bit of heat in there. And that's the whole point. I mean, it's not plastic because plastic would melt, but metal is a conductor of heat.
I'm gonna go down and see what's going on. Like I said, the system runs on a timer, comes on and off.
There hasn't been, so when there's heat in here, I feel it, right? It just warms up. It feels toasty. There hasn't been heat in here for weeks, so when it gets cold, I just turn the stove on, turn the 2 burners on. That warms it up within a few minutes, but it's also a fire hazard. Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything, no papers or anything around the stove right now, but you just never know, so.
Okay. I'm going to go and check, okay?
Okay, thank you. "61 degrees. Wow, that's way colder than I thought. I figured it would be maybe 70 in here. But yeah, I mean, if there's heat in here, you feel it. It's a small space. You don't need a lot of heat to warm the space up. As I said, when you turn the burners on the stove for warmth, it warms up within just a few minutes. So 61 degrees, that's really cold.